Welcome to People's Depot Podcast. My name is Stephen Jackson, and I am your host. All recordings of this podcast can be found on peoplesdepotpodcast.com. If you want to see a video recording, you can go to the peoplesdepot.com/podcast video. That is the peoplesdepot.com/podcast video. I want to welcome everyone. Normally, when we start our podcast, we always talk about gold and silver. I'm always conscious of making people aware of the importance of gold and silver, especially in these inflationary periods that we find ourselves in today. But what we're going to do for this particular podcast, we're going to dispense with that, and we're going to move right into our subject, the effects of stem cells using LifeWave. This podcast, I think you're going to find very interesting. When we talk about LifeWave products, the founder of LifeWave is David Smith. And he was a scientist, or is a scientist, and what he wanted to do was to tap into our natural human energy at the cellular level without drugs or stimulants. His mission is to share his products worldwide to enhance people's health, wellness, beauty, and longevity without using any drugs or stimulants, thus reducing pain, getting rid of stress, and improving sleep, and so much more. Now, a little bit about David Smith. These are some statistics. He is the founder of LifeWave, and his products are distributed in more than 75 different countries. He has over 80 clinical research articles published and studies, and he has over 100 filed and issued worldwide patents. Who does that? This, my friend, is a very interesting individual. So we're going to be talking about his product, LifeWave, and we have a visiting speaker, John Cheng, and he's going to be bringing a wealth of information about this product, LifeWave, and how much it can affect our well-being. So let's give our undivided attention to John Cheng. John, how you doing?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you? Hi, everybody out there.
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
So go ahead. Stephen talked about the stem cell research and LifeWave. I am a director. Let me give you a little intro.
Okay.
I'm a director with LifeWave. I got involved with LifeWave in late 2017. I retired from my corporate world in 2016. I was the vice president of Pilot Automotive. A lot of you may know that name. If you ever gone to Walmart, Pep Boys, and bought any auto accessories, chances are you bought it from my company. So my background is far from what I'm talking to you about today. I am an inventor. I've been involved with automotive accessories for over 30 some years. My background is also marketing because I was the vice president of marketing and new products development. But I'm here today to talk to you how I came across these amazing patches and how I got involved with it, okay? So these patches, number one, are all organic in the way that there's no drug, nothing artificial in these patches. But these patches work to reflect infrared light, okay? So these patches are light frequency activated, and it affects our body just like if we go out into sunlight, and a certain spectrum of the sunlight stimulates our body to produce vitamin D and melanin, which tans our body. So science know the effect of light having causing effects to our body, okay? It's called photobiomodulation, big word. Basically the effect of light causing a chemical change in our body. And so David Smith, the inventor and CEO of LifeWave, invented these patches tapping into the light stimulation of our body. He started in
John, not to interrupt you, hold that thought. But you mentioned David Smith, and I want the audience to know what started him on this. What was he? Yes. Was he actually hired by someone? What actually got him to this point?
Right. Okay. David Smith is also an inventor and research scientist. He started with regenerative medicine way back in his teens, I would say. But in around 2000, David was a military contractor. He was contracted by the military. Okay. And he invented a slew of different technology for the military. At that time, the Navy went to him and wanted to develop something that stimulates the the Navy SEALs so they can stay awake in 40 hours or 36 hours at a time on a mini sub program that they were working on. And they didn't want it to be artificial stimulant like caffeine or anything that would cause them to have a crash after they were stimulated. And so he was always, he knew about the science of photobiomodulation, the effect of light. And so his first invention came out, and that's called the energy patches, okay? He invented the energy patches. That was the first patch that he came out with for the Navy SEAL. And because it was all natural, no drug, it stimulated the body to burn our own body fat to produce that energy, which is the most natural form of energy, steady energy flow from our body, not from sugar or anything artificial, okay? Burning our own body fat. So that advanced further during the time of his inventing the energy patches. One of the doctors within his group, Dr. Halty Wanger. Dr. Halty Wanger is good friends with Coach Richard Quick. You might know Coach Richard Quick. He was the Stanford women's swim team coach at that time. And so knowing how natural and organic these patches are, Coach Richard Quick tried these patches on his swim team. And of course, 7 out of 8 of the athletes beat their own personal best with these patches on. So amazingly enough, in 2004 Olympics here in Southern California, they were beating everyone, okay? And of course, everyone's crying, wow, what are these patches that these guys have on? And so UCLA conducted an extensive research into that, the anti-doping agency for the Olympics, and did the blood tests and all the samples from the athletes, and their blood came out cleaner than the other athletes who were taking allowable supplements. So this is huge. This gave LifeWave the big launch into the world stage of on this technology. Okay,
now that anti-doping, if I recall, there's some documentation on that, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can find everything that I am referenced to, including clinical studies. There are over 100 clinical studies, published clinical studies on all of these patches in the lifewave.com website, okay? And I think, Stephen, you can post a link to that.
Yeah, what's going to happen is, I asked that question because I wanted the audience to understand that everything you're saying can be backed up by information. And you're right, yes, that information is on the site. At the end of this, I'm going to give information on how to get to that site. So I'll take care of that part of it. But yes, I just wanted it to be clear that this is clearly documented. And this is unbelievable. This is really unbelievable. And and I don't want the audience to think we're coming up with a fairy tale, but that is documentation, and that's why I wanted that mentioned. You're right. I saw that document that you were talking about, and I was able to find it from the site. So I just wanted that to be mentioned. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no.
Continue. I'm interested. You piqued my curiosity.
Good, because that's what piqued my curiosity when I first, discovered these patches. So as I said, I retired in 2016 from my corporate world, and I'm still very busy because, I am an inventor. I have 14 patents myself, utility patents, and I'm constantly working on new projects. But at that time, in late 2017, my dad had a stroke. At that time, he was 95 years old, and he had a stroke. And his doctor came to, talk to my brother and I at that time. And he said that, boys, you have to get ready for him, for his living situation, because he's going to be bedridden for the rest of his days because of his age and of his stroke. Okay, we prepared for that, got assistants and have live-in caretakers for him. So during that same time, I was working with a business partner at that time who happens to be the founder of an organization here in Southern California called Home of Angels. Home of Angels is established to help family with autistic kids. So I support this foundation and go to a lot of the fundraising dinners and luncheons around Southern California. This particular day, it was a fundraising luncheon in city of Alhambra in a restaurant called Charlie's Trio. And so you could imagine a restaurant full of artistic kids from 3 to 23 years old. Well, I was chatting with a lady that day that I met, and Nikki Chan, and she was the councilwoman of City of Alhambra, and met her. So just chit-chatting, and to the right of us, there was a kid about 10, 12 years old. He was just not having it. Oh my God, he was having a tantrum of his life, and it just big ruckus. And poor mom didn't have the tools. I mean, you could just see there's nothing she can do to calm him down. And he was stomping his feet, he rolled his eyes, back of his head. And seriously, I looked over and felt like and looked like his lower teeth just, teeth just rising. It's kind of freaky. And, Nikki that I was talking to got up and talked to the mom, and, I wasn't paying too much attention. And then within a couple of minutes, I looked over and that kid was calm. Okay, that kid from that sheer tantrum was calm, and I say the time was within 5 minutes, as I recall, and he was kind of smiling at one point, and I thought, man, this is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde before my eyes. This horrible-looking kid's having this tantrum, and he smiled, and he was like, actually a cute kid, and so that piqued my attention. And then shortly after that, a little girl to the left, and I'm watching Nikki now. She's going around the room talking to parents with kids that were just acting up. And what she did was put a little patch, okay? I didn't know what it was at that time, with the mother's permission, of course, on the back of the kid's neck. And then within a couple minutes, and some faster and some a little later, but they all calmed down. Now, I remember this one kid, he was like big kid, it was 6 something, and he was about 22, 23 years old, and he wanted out of the restaurant. And his dad just came up to, his chest in height, and wanted to have him stay in, and he just wanted to go out. And I thought, man, this is going to be good. What's going to happen here? And again, little Nikki went up to the dad, and they put a patch on the back of his neck, just kind of reached up and bam. And then he was complicit within seconds. He just like calmed down, okay, listened to his dad, and sat back down. So of course, I had to find out what's in these patches. What did she do? So she gave me a business card, and I went to her office a couple of weeks later, set an appointment, and she told me all about what these patches are and how they work, and exactly what I just explained to you. They're all natural and use light frequency. Of course, at this time, this is 2017, and we started earlier with the first patch, which is the energy patches in 2004, which, by the way, is since 2004, these patches are approved by the World Olympics. Okay, and a lot of stars, a lot of athletes today. Tim Duncan is one that was seen with these patches on the game, and I guess and Serena Williams. Who else? It's that famous soccer player. But you'll find a lot of athletes today, even Olympic athletes, are wearing these patches. And one of the more famous one with these patches, Dr. Karen Kan. Karen Kan was the gold medal figure skate winner in, I think it's 2008 Olympic. And then she's an MD also, and you can Google her or YouTube, and she talks about these LifeWave patches and how they work. So it explains it pretty well, okay? So come back to at 2017, when I discovered these patches, there were a whole slew of different patches by that time. And each patch do a different thing, okay? Remember, photobiomodulation. Each patch is designed to stimulate a certain different frequency to stimulate that cause our body to produce, again, a certain chemical result. For example, the glutathione patch is one of the very popular patches, which really made popular by Suzanne Summers. And a lot of you may know Suzanne Summers had cancer, and she healed herself, and she's written, I don't know, about 6, 7 books now on self-healing. And so she attributes the glutathione patch to her own healing, and she mentions about the LifeWave patches in all of her books. So glutathione is the master antioxidant that our own body produces. But as our body is affected by toxins, stress, and age, as we age, things slows down. So the glutathione level slows down. And again, it's the master antioxidant of our body. So if our glutathione level is high enough, our body's immune system can fight off just about anything, okay? Yeah, so the glutathione, you could, Google that. And again, it's a natural peptide. It's a tripeptide. Yeah, I believe it's a bipeptide that our body produces naturally. So this glutathione patch activates the glutathione in our body to produce. And now, just to put things into perspective, if you go into hospital today with, mercury poisoning or heavy metal poisoning or some sort of infection, they will give you a course in glutathione, okay, IV or injection. And these IV synthetic glutathione produced in the lab, our body would get rid of 80% of that within the first 20 minutes. But the 20% left will do this thing, like chelate metals, heavy metals out of your body, okay? So, and there are a lot of supplements on the market today to, stimulate our body to produce our own glutathione. The best out there would take will elevate our glutathione level by 30% in 30 days, okay? I'm not a medical doctor, but I've learned all these things through the past few years as I got involved with LifeWave and talking to a lot of people, okay? So while a single glutathione patch on our body, and again, what I'm telling you right now, you can look it up in the website under clinical studies, and these are third-party published clinical studies.
Yeah, and I want to mention that, don't lose your thought, but there's a pouch when you go to the site, and I just want the audience to know there's an actual pouch. There's actually 3 of them, but there's one that has those clinical studies, and you'll find a wealth of information there. So we'll direct you to that as well, but I just wanted that to be mentioned.
Yeah.
But continue, John.
Yeah, it's under clinical evidence, and that's
Yes,
science and
clinical evidence. That's correct.
And all these things you could read up on, especially doctors and scientists out there who can really understand these things. I can't understand it all, but I know enough that the glutathione level for 12 hours will elevate your glutathione by 300%. Now, that is huge when you consider that the best supplement out there will elevate your glutathione by 30% in 30 days, okay? And so anyway, that's the glutathione patch. So bringing back up to what I was talking about when I discovered these patches, I asked Nikki, who taught me about these patches and what they do, if these patches can help my dad, okay, who had a stroke and who was bedridden. And so she gave me a protocol using these different patches. And these patches, the protocol she gave me was called the Yin Yang protocol. And it's based on acupuncture, okay? Acupuncture principles. And instead of using needles, you use different patches throughout the body to open the energy. And I want to tell you a story about that in a little bit. By using the Yin Yang protocol on my dad, and I have a recording of that, and you could YouTube that sometime. In 45 days of doing the Yin Yang protocol, I taught his caretaker. He's living with my mom, and my mom is 2 years younger than him, but she's in pretty good health. And so we focus on my dad, putting a set of patches on him during the day, and the night, putting another set of patches on him at night. And did this every day at that time, they said, oh, this will open up all the energy blockage within his body, align the yin and the yang. And I found out later what yin and the yang really means is really positive and negative biofrequencies within our body. And so within 45 days, okay, I got a call from his caretaker. They're all giddy, and it says, like, laughing and say, hey, you know, your dad has been wanting to get up and walk, and he got up and walked. And so I thought, wait a minute, I'm gonna have to come down. And so I went down that morning. Mm-hmm. I took out my phone and I videoed my dad walking behind his walker, like a foot or two away. And one of the caretaker had the walker, and he was just walking on his own, okay? And the other one, you know, had her hand over his belt and trying to make sure that he doesn't fall, but that was amazing, okay? And so since then, he just got better and better, okay? That stroke, like nothing. So after 45 days, again, you know, he continued to use the patches, and still, okay, now this is back in 2017, 2018. Mm-hmm. My dad today, last month, like 3 weeks ago, he turned 100, okay? To put things into perspective, he turned 100. He could still walk around the house. Of course, he's using a walker now, okay, but he is not bedridden, okay? And the only thing I can attribute all this to these LifeWave patches, okay? So that's how I got involved with these LifeWave patches. When I saw what it did to my dad at that time, I need to drill down and find out what makes these patches tick. And so that's how I got involved. Now, I talked to you a little bit about the acupuncture principles using these patches instead of needles. Well, shortly after, in 2018, there was a medical scientific conference in Copenhagen by LifeWave and the scientists there, who addressed a group of doctors in Europe and scientists, because in Europe, the medical institutions there, hospitals, clinics, and medical doctors have been using LifeWave patches for years. It's not so in the US, not yet, But so 2018, I had the opportunity to go to this conference, and within the first 10 minutes, I got it. And I'm going to share that with you because, again, I am an inventor, more mechanical type of invention as opposed to something like LifeWave, okay? But, that conference, although they talked about a lot of important things, 90% of what they said went over my head because I'm not a medical doctor. But within the first 10 minutes, there's a French doctor, Dr. Didier, and a scientist. He emceed that conference. And he said, we scientists know today that the human body is designed to work together as a system, just like a computer. And when a computer goes awry, program slows down, things are not working, what do? We reboot. And how come after a reboot, everything seems to be functioning? And he said, well, after reboot, we reset the system to work together once again as a system. And he said, we can do that to the human body today. Okay, interesting. And he said, there's energy flow throughout our body that we can detect using instruments today. And I'm sure a lot of people, we've all seen these sort of like a halo glow around the body that I forgot the name of the machine they use, but they can detect the flow of energy. They know that there are energy radiating from on the cellular level. And he said, this energy is more important than blood flow. Well, that caught my attention. What are you talking about? And he put up a picture of a patient with a diabetic ulceration to the foot. There was ulceration, open sore that will not heal. And he showed the radiogram, I guess an energy gram, showing that as the energy is going down to that foot, it's no energy in that foot, okay? You could see it at like an aura without, throughout the other parts of the body as it goes down to the foot. And he says that when the energy is not flowing to a particular part of the body, blood ceases to flow, tissue starts to die, and we end up having to amputate, in this case of that diabetic ulceration. But he said, we have found that when we can isolate the blockage that preventing the energy from flowing to a particular part of the body, that the body will heal itself, okay? And he said, how do we determine where the energies are blocked and how do we release that energy again? And he said that the body is very complex, but in nature, our body are all biofrequencies, okay? We are light. You get into the cellular level and basically we are made of light. And how do we know this? Well, our cells actually produce infrared light. We can't see it, but we've all seen the military scopes where you can detect people behind brick walls in the building.
That's true.
Right? Those red heat signature, yes. Heat signature, but that scope is not detecting heat. You can't determine how hot it is coming through the other side of the wall. But what they're seeing is infrared light. So this infrared light, as I said earlier, of course, the sun has full spectrum of different light. A certain frequency within the infrared light will stimulate our skin to produce a certain chemical result. Like I said before, vitamin D. So David Smith tapped into these frequencies and found out what frequencies to act that would stimulate our body to produce a particular chemical result or a particular function, like causing our body to burn fat to produce energy, or produce glutathione, our own stimulating our body to produce our own glutathione to enhance our what do you call it? I need to stimulate my brain. Oh, it'll come back to me. But immune system, okay? We want to strengthen our immune system. So the best way to do that, especially in the past couple of years, with this COVID and everything, I had, my folk patch daily with the X39, and I'll get back to that because the X39 is a stem cell patch. It's what you're all here to learn about. I gave you a little bit of background on how these patches were developed. And a little history of that. So glutathione elevates our own glutathione level, boosting our immune system. And that alone, I had my folks do nothing but that. And as I said, my dad turned 100, my mom is 98, and I'm telling you, they're both as healthy as anything. They have not had a cold. They have not had a flu since they started patching back in 2018. So
now you mentioned something about the patches being able to do a reverse aging, or something that it did with the arteries. I don't want you to lose that. I don't want you to lose your focus now, but I want that.
I'm building up to that because in 2019, okay, after all the other patches, we call those classic patches because they all have a good function. But, I digress here. Let me go back to Dr. DDA. That way you can follow where I'm coming from.
Okay.
So he talked about releasing the blockage of energy. Well, guess what? That's exactly what acupuncturists do. They treat our body, they feel our pulse, and they know where our energies are blocked. And that's why those needles are to stimulate certain parts of our meridians to release the energy to balance the biofrequency. And this is really cool because when that Dr. DDA stood up in that room, like 350 doctors and scientists, and talked about this and talked about the energy flow within the body and how the body functions together as a system, then he said these energy that flows throughout the body, because these are nothing but life force energy. Well, all right. Life force energy flows throughout the body. And he says they flow through energy highway located in our body. And he says, anyone know where these energy highways are located? And he flashed up a chart, a 5,000-year-old acupuncture chart with all those lines and meridians running through. And I thought, are you kidding me? This is East meets West, okay? These are, I think about that. I mean, these are science using modern day equipment to detect energy flow and so on. And he said, and I've always wondered, I said, how the heck do, acupuncturists know where to put all these needles in the body, stick it in your ear and you quit smoking or things like that. And so he said that we can, today in science, we found out that these energy highways where the 5,000-year-old meridians are located, and they are made out of physical fiber, what is it called? Made out of physical collagen fibers, okay, that they can detect today. These meridians actually exist, made of collagen fiber that communicates with from our mind to all the organs via light frequency. So, wow, that blew my mind, okay? And now, not gonna get any more deeper than that, but if our body from the cellular level are made of frequency, and science knows this, and how is, the atoms and everything is moving around, these are high frequency, and these are light frequency, mostly in the infrared spectrum. And so that's how he introduced the LifeWave patches. These patches are made out of natural synthetic crystals, made out of stabilized oxygen, sugar, and water, and through the genius that they crystallize, and they're sandwiched between these plastics. And now these crystals, David Smith were able to infuse a certain spectrum, okay, certain frequency within these crystals that when we put it on our body, within even 2 inches away from our body, it's activated. It's activated from the infrared light emitted from our body, hits these crystals, and reflects it back into our skin. And these are in the nanometers, certain depth within our skin with this particular frequency of infrared light will stimulate our body, as I said before, to produce, like say, if it's the glutathione patch, will produce our body to increase production of glutathione up to 300% in 24 hours. Now that is just super amazing. Now, I mean, in 2019, this is the mother of all patches that David Smith came out with. And this is what we're all here to talk about today. You know, we all know about stem cells. We heard about stem cells. We know that stem cells is going to be the healing for the human in the future, all right? Because in our body, every cell in our body was once a stem cell, okay? And when we're young, stem cells cruise throughout our body, millions of cells in our bone marrows, our you know, veins and what have you. And it goes in and repair different cells, okay? Millions of cells die off from our skin, our hair, and everything every day. So these cells are being replenished. But as we age, and I was told that when we reach age 60, that 60 or 70% of our stem cells have already stopped, okay? So what's left as we age more and more, it starts to slow down more and more, and that's where the aging process begins. That's why we are not healing as fast, and our joint starts to ache, you know, skin starts to sag, have wrinkles, and hair starts to fall out, and so on and so on, and then we start to lose our health because our body's not able to regenerate like when we were young. So he discovered that, well, there's a peptide that our body produces called the copper peptide. And this copper peptide, you could all look up, was not invented, but discovered by a Dr. Lauren Picard. And there are a lot of scientific papers by Dr. Lauren Picard on the effects of this copper peptide within a body. One of the benefits is that when our copper peptide is high, and it will cause our body to produce more collagen, okay, which, you know, for joints and skin and so on, our body is reliant on a lot of collagen. But one of the other side benefits of having elevated copper peptide is it activates our own stem cells, okay? So how do you activate? I don't know, I'm not going to get into how the stem cells are activated, but science know that when you, well, David Smith knew that when you activate our copper peptide is just below our skin. So our skin being the largest organ in our body, there's abundant full. So this particular patch, X39, was revealed in 2019, was to the world. And the clinical study, okay, behind this X39 is amazing, because the group that wore the X39, and I know that this group with the median age of 63, I believe, 62 or 63, wearing this patch for 12 hours a day. And after 6 weeks, they did the test on all of the test subjects. They found that their arteries had reversed, gotten younger by 2 months in 6 weeks, okay? Now, let's put this into perspective. This is the first time ever that I know of, and I think anybody know of can tell me that, hey, we're not talking about a product that with anti-aging anymore. This is a product I can literally say is reverse aging. Okay. Now that's not phenomenal. I don't know what is. And it's backed by clinical studies. Within 6 weeks, they tested their arteries had gotten younger. Now, you put this into biology, if the artery is getting younger, what else in our body is getting younger, right?
That's amazing. Now,
So,
let me ask you this for time's sake.
yeah.
Do you have some examples of the effect of this patch? Maybe what is done in certain situations. Do you have some examples of that?
You know what? Yeah, I do. In fact, I've got some I did prepare some photos here to share with you. And these
I'm gonna make sure you can get the screen.
Yeah.
You should be able to.
In fact, if all of you just go into YouTube sometimes and just put testimonial or whatever, or LifeWave Patches, you'll see tons of different things out there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the caveat here is that there are a lot of a lot of crap out there on the internet too. I don't care what it is. You've got good and bad, but predominantly anything that you find about LifeWave that's credible or genuine. And but again, the photos I'm going to share with you are from friends and family. Okay, they're not photos that I got somewhere on the internet. So I know everybody here that I'm going to share these pictures with. Okay, so you're going to share screen?
Yep.
Okay.
You should be able to get it now.
All right, here we go. Oh, by the way, let me start with this one. This is my folks.
Okay.
This was taken last Christmas, a few months back. We're in June. So that's 6 months ago. That's my dad. He just turned 100, okay? And that's my mom, 98. So that's testimonial right there. And here's what I want to share. This is cool. Now, this is Murphy. And Murphy is a dog to one of my clients, and she's been using the X39. And when X39 first came out, she dated this thing and showed me. Murphy is now, I guess, 16 years old, but at that time, okay, Murphy had a cataract. And
I can see it.
Yeah, and look at this. Within 10 days, she said, it cleared. And you know what? That cataract never came back. But then she did tell me last week when I talked to her that, Murphy is doing a lot better. He's able to walk a little better since then. So anyway, here's something
now,
that.
So let's get this straight. That's her pet.
Yeah.
That X39 was used on a pet, on a dog.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Now these patches, because look, they work on the human body as well. It works on animals. Animals the same way. They are light frequency. Okay, they still have energy. In fact, interesting enough, LifeWave do have a product called AccuLife. So for those of you who own horses, look up AccuLife and look at. It's amazing. These patches they apply on horses and helps the horses relieve their pain and stiffness. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Here's one to show the rapid healing that the X39. Now, if our arteries can heal or get younger by 2 months, look at this out of surgery here. This is what from 18th and that's the afternoon of May 18th to 31st. So we're looking at, this is progression here, 7 days, and here's 45 days. Look at this amazing scar. 45 days with X39.
Wow.
And here it is.
So back up. So those pointing where those patches are, that's the protocol that was used to get that.
Yeah, you put patches just near or close to the affected area. It can speed it up, I guess, but I guess these would be anecdotal because the clinical studies show that you put it on the behind your neck or below the belly button because it affects the whole body, right? Because it activates the peptide, which is just below the skin. But we have a lot of people like here put it near the scars. So here's Sherry, my friend's sister, and this is actual facelift. Okay, 30 days and 4.5 months later, look at her chin. It's tightening up.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of these. Again, these are called anecdotal testimonials because there's no actual clinical studies. All right.
Okay.
And these are just, things I collect. Oh, here's Nikki. Nikki is the person that I told you about that introduced me to LifeWave Patches back in 2016.
Okay.
She had a bike accident. And of course, her husband being a LifeWave user, they wanted to, document her healing with the X39. Look at that. Day 1, day 2. Look at that, after 6 days. Look at this. It's amazing. And I just share a quick note about my own healing. But, when I had an accident, I didn't have the frame of mind to go take a picture of myself. But I get just, let me finish up with this one.
This is the one that I thought was really interesting for the audience.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is Jan. He was in 2018 when I was there in Copenhagen. His parents were LifeWave distributors. And I met this kid then, and he was a lot younger than he is here, at least a couple of years younger. Anyway, he had his finger caught between, in the minivan door, which got severed, cut it off, okay? And his parents picked it up, rushed him to the hospital, wanted the doctor to sew it back on. The doctor said, you know what, since it's below the cuticle, below the fingernail, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna heal. Mm-hmm. And they pleaded with the doctor. So finally the doctor sewed it back on, and look at these pictures they take. And they said, look, within the second day, they can see that the finger was starting to die because it's turning black.
Yeah.
Okay? And so they were a little worried, although they patched him, they put the X39, as you can see, on the finger, and they actually put the patches on top of his hand. And he has one on his finger on top of the bandages. And look at that. His finger starts to heal. Okay? Mm-hmm. Black starting to go away, and then it's healed. And then finally, even the fingernails is growing back. Wow. So this is amazing. And this is, his doctors all were just blown away, as you can see, okay? 6-year-old boy, the doctors and parents, pleaded with the doctor and sewed it back on. After 2 months, this is after 2 months, 60 days, okay? So this is 60 days from a severed finger that's sewn back on to where you can see it right here with the fingernail actually growing back up. So if this not does that
is really amazing. That is really amazing. Now you gave an example of a nurse that had was involved in an accident, I believe.
Yeah, that was actually the reason why I started into this LifeWave in 2018, because when I came back from Copenhagen, I thought, wow, this is amazing technology that it's like, I have to let everybody that I know about this amazing technology and what it did for my dad. And especially, long story short is that my sister-in-law, of course, I immediately, shared with all my friends and family. And this particular person is the first person that came from outside the family. And I'll remind you, when I first enrolled, I had no interest in doing this as a business, okay?
Okay.
And even today, I don't, okay? You will never see me in a Facebook advertising or recruiting, but I am here to help a lot of people, and I do get, yes, a really good personal enjoyment when I have people telling me that I thank you for saving my life, okay? Especially in this case with Jacqueline Doan is her name, and she was referred to me from my sister-in-law's brother-in-law, and she got into an accident. She, at that time, was 57 years old, and got into an accident. She was blown by a pickup truck going 75 miles an hour rode her car so many times, literally broke just about every bone in her body. Now, she had a litany of issues within the body, affected by mold and so on, which exacerbated all these different things. And so when I first talked to her over the phone, I thought I was talking to a 92-year-old woman because she had to take a breath between every word, no energy. So at that time, as I said, I'm kind of new at this and I didn't know how to coach her other than, look, here's what I did for my dad. I'm new, and if you could try that, see how it would work for you. And again, it's called the yin yang protocol, which uses a lot of different patches. So long story short is that within the first day when she started patching, she noticed the difference. And then she continued with these patches, and she got better and better and better. And I said within the first year, she got to be, in her own words, 94, 95%, okay, back to her vibrant health. And she turned out to be a very vibrant, intelligent nurse. She was at RN, and she had a whole following of clients, if you will, that she coaches on different medications, from pharmaceuticals to holistic supplements and so on. So when she found out what these patches did for her, she grew her business. She basically opened up Utah. Okay. And so, of course, she was enrolled under me as a distributor at that time, just so she can buy these patches at wholesale. And so from that on, when the first couple of months, of course, I'm following up with her, see how she's doing. And I noticed that it's like within, 8 weeks probably, and she sends me this email. She said, "Thank you for saving my life." And then,
Wow.
that struck me because I thought, I've never saved anybody's life before. And she categorically went down to the whole list of things that she had, because she's a medical person. And she said to me on that email, she said, when I first heard about these patches, I was just hoping these patches will give me enough energy to get my affairs in order, because I knew I was going to die. Okay. She was just wanted to, to maintain her energy. So, so she can prepare. But she got well instead of dying, and she thanked me for saving her life, and she was so genuine. And then finally, a year later, I met her in person, and of course the rest is history. When I can just share something, information like this, like I'm sharing with you all, and able to save someone's life, I thought, man, there's a passion here. There's something that I need to do.
It's a humbling experience, and I've experienced that. I've worked around hospitals, so I know what that's like. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you sent me a copy of that email she sent you, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
so,
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned some other examples. Maybe you can briefly mention some examples about some of those that have had some cancer or something. I think you mentioned something like that.
Yeah, and it's amazing that, because again, look, I'm an automotive guy, okay? I'm the guy who created bully truck accessories you may have seen around with the bullhorn, and parts for trucks. And then all of a sudden I'm here dealing with people with, dire diseases, like in this case with Jacqueline. I mean, she had all sorts of things that I can't even pronounce. And then shortly afterwards, there was another lady who called me and told me her brother had stage 4 cancer, and he was in so much pain he couldn't eat, had no energy, and so on. And she said, "I heard that you have these patches that can help him." And again, I said, "You know what? I have these patches," and explained to her that he's willing to try it to see if it would help. Well, sure enough, I mean, anyway, her brother, she is an dentist, periodontist up in San Francisco. And so she was taking care of her brother, and she called me. She got her patches on Wednesday, and then she called me on a Friday afternoon. She said, "Oh, John, you are so right. These patches are amazing because since I started patching, G is his name, that this morning he ate his breakfast and he was able to had energy to read through the whole newspaper, and he even walked upstairs himself. Okay. So at that time, when she first talked to me, she said that the doctor didn't give him, only give him like a few weeks left. Stage 4, he only had a few weeks left, but he was in so much pain that he wasn't even, the medication they were giving him wasn't working. Okay. He was still in so much pain. And so within 3 days, he got his energy back. So he lived for another 6 to 7 months before he passed. Okay. And when he passed, Belinda, his sister, and his wife, Sherry, and his other sister, they all called me personally to thank me for giving G a quality of life leading up to his passing in his sleep. Okay, so again, this is a touching moment. I mean, I am not a doctor. I mean, God, I don't know. It freaks me out even today when talking about somebody come to me and say, hey, I've got stage 4 cancer. Okay, and if, again, we're not making any, I'm not making any medical claims. Okay, and LifeWave does not make any medical claims. But if we can, if the patches can treat a symptom, like give you more energy, help you sleep, increase your appetite, you think you stand a better chance of recovering from whatever you have, right?
Of course.
And that's one thing that I've just learned. I don't care, you come at me with anything. Of course, nothing in the world is 100%. And I've had situations in the beginning where a lady came with me with autoimmune disease. I think it was Hashimoto or something. And again, I said, look, I'm not a medical doctor, but I just know that these patches can help mitigate some of your symptoms, increase your energy, and help you. And this lady, I really, really wanted to help her with these patches, but it wasn't to be so. They couldn't help her. Okay, but with another lady who had autoimmune disease, okay, she was confined to a wheelchair. She's still using these patches today. Okay, so when we're talking about medical conditions, serious or something as simple as a migraine headaches, these patches can definitely help. But most important is that, hey, let's stay young, okay? If our stem cells are boosted or back to when we were in our 20s, then it can help to prevent this aging process to, slow it down, okay? Slow it down. And so that's the goal of David Smith, is he is absolutely in the forefront of this reverse aging technology right now, is with using stem cells, okay, affecting our stem cells.
Yeah. Now, I generally do not like to, when I'm on a podcast, I don't go into the sale pricing or whatever, but there's some special programs that in acquiring these patches, aren't there? You mentioned something that was that LifeWave was doing, and I want you to mention that now, so that the audience, obviously they're going to be interested.
Sure.
And I want them to know how they can get the patches.
The patches and yeah. Now these patches, I can tell you, they're not cheap, but we got to put things into perspective. Stem cell therapy, I've learned that it's, of course, number one, stem cell therapy, have you heard of people who've gone through this? Stem cell therapy is still not legal in the United States and in most countries in the world. That's why a lot of people go to Brazil, outside the country, to get certain stem cell therapy for torn rotator cuff or, things like that. It can work. 1/3 of the time it does work, 1/3 of the time it does not. And the other third of the time, it can cause some pretty serious damages, such as mutation and death. So there are clinical studies today in the United States. If you're going to get stem cell therapy, you have to sign your life away under this thing called clinical studies. And yes, you can get stem cell therapy. But the cheapest stem cell therapy that I found is like $5,000 to $25,000 to $30,000 a course. Now, you make that comparison to one of these patches, which essentially cost you less than $5. Okay. Now, these patches retail for $149.95 for 30. But then if you they have a wonderful program because LifeWave is such a credible company by offering this program. It's called Preferred Customer Program. Now, back up a little bit in 2018, 2017, when I started, I wanted these patches for my dad. Of course, I didn't want to pay retail for these patches because I was buying so many patches. So I enrolled as a distributor so I can buy at wholesale prices, never intending to do this as a business. And I said, I still don't do it as a business. But so it retails for $150, basically $149.95, and wholesales for $99.95, $100 for 30. So they came up with a program called Preferred Customer Program. If you want to try these things, I would say, commit 3 months to doing this, because LifeWave will guarantee you for 3 months. Okay, so you buy X39, become a preferred customer. I don't want to get too much into detail because I'm not selling anything, but this is a way that you can do it and try it out. You pay a one-time fee of $20, $19.95, and enrolls you as a preferred customer. Then you'll be able to buy, instead of $150, you're paying $100 for an X39. Now, the only thing is that in order to be maintained as a preferred customer, you have to put it on auto ship, which a lot of people say, I don't want like auto ship. And I agree with you because you forget about it, comes and your credit card get charged. But I said, look, commit 3 months to this, put it on auto ship for 3 months. Here's the reason why. You buy the X39 for $100, okay? Just round it up, $99.95. And as a preferred customer, you just pay $20 registration. Well, as a preferred customer, they give you loyalty points, which equals to 20% of everything you spend on products today, which is that $100. So immediately you got $20 credit towards your next month's auto ship of that X39. So next month, after your first month of using the X39 on yourself, next month it comes to you and your credit card is charged $80 instead of $100. Now, I as a distributor, I can't buy it for less than $100. Okay, and then that's your first month's second month, because you pay $80, there's $16 credit, and it keeps going. Every dollar you spend on product turns into a 20% credit. All right, and that's not all, because when they send you your X39, they'll send you 10 free patches, one of the classic patches. Like the first shipping, when you get your X39, you get 10 glutathione. Now these classic patches retails for $80, $79.95. So you get 10 of these things. That's like $33 worth of patches. So financially, it makes so much sense. And the best part is, after you do 3 months, that's 120 days. And at the end of that, you say, you know what? I heard on that podcast and it sounded real good, and I gave it 3 months. No, you're not 100%. You're not totally happy with it. You could call customer service within your 90 days and you get 100% of your money back. Now, what company would do that? Okay. And you don't even have to return the products. Yeah. 100% of your money back. So I say, look, that's a no risk, everything to gain. Now, they gave you twice the time that it took the test group in the clinical studies to reverse their arteries by 2 months. Now, that was in 6 weeks. You have double that, 12 weeks to try this X39 out. And again, if you don't feel like your joints and everything, you're more energy, you're sleeping better, if you don't feel that, and again, I said before, nothing is 100% in the world. But with a product like this, from my own personal experience, helping hundreds of people with these patches, it's got a 90% plus batting average, okay? So you happen to be one of those people that, are not benefited from it, no problem. You get your money back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I appreciate that. There are three things I look at whenever I'm dealing with a product for my business, or I'm actually introducing it. And one is the people that are behind it. What are they? What are their strengths? We know we have David Smith, who's a scientist, and he's come up with this ability for the patches to do what they do to activate our stem cells. The other is there a need? Mm-hmm. And of course, people have ailments, pain, sleepless nights, all these things, anxiety, stress. Mm-hmm. And so there's a huge need for a product like this. And the third is, does it pass the mama test? And what that is this something that you would give to your mother? And I, in fact, give it to my mom. My mom is on these patches, and she's 83. I mean, remember she was talking about where she lives, in the apartment she has, that she had to always hold on to the railing to walk down in the hallway. And I encourage her to try these patches. And my mom has always been into nutrition. She's actually taught me the importance of nutrition. And I've learned that as you're doing some things, I do want to mention this, sometimes when you are using supplements, your body begins to detox and you get these headaches at times, but that's not a bad thing. That's why you want to drink plenty of water. That's important, plenty of water. And she was going through that, so she kind of cut the amount of time she was using the patches, but 4 months later, the headache's gone away. She's feeling much better. Then about, I want to say 6 to 8 months, she wasn't leaning on the railing anymore. She was more focused. At one point, I hadn't seen her for about a month, and I came to pick her up, and I wasn't sure because she looked different. I'm like, oh no, and then just I want to say back in October of last year, we went downtown to the store. I'm like, oh, now this is going to be an experience. I had to keep up with my mother. She used to hang on to the cars to the room. I had to keep up with her. So, it's those are the things, the criteria I use, and it has been really working for my mom. So I wanted to have you on our show so our audience can really see the benefits of this patch, how it might help them. We're not making any claims that this is the big all-in-one cure. This is going to cure all of your symptoms, things of that nature, but we do know it has helped people, and we want to let people be aware of it. Now, there's an FDA registration on this, right, John?
Yes. It's because there's no drug in these patches. Although it's regulated by FDA, it's registered as a medical device, just like MRI machines, things like that. It's a medical device. And it's again approved by World Olympics.
That speaks volume, because people, when it comes to nutrition and things of that nature, and I speak of nutrition because that's the best example, you don't really get FDA anything with them. Mm-hmm. But to be able to have this approved as a medical device, that's very, very important, because we know that, it's just in harmony with everything that you've said. And again, it's all documented. What we're saying is this is not some fabrication or some ideology that has come up. Is very well documented. So again, I want the audience to know you can go to thepeoplesdepot.com/products, and then you can scroll down and you'll see LifeWave, and you can click on the tab, and we'll take you directly to the site, and you can see all the information for yourself. You can see the studies. There are videos there. in the peoplesdepot.com site. We're going to be posting a lot of the images, and we're going to be posting. There are some testimonials already there as well, but we're going to be posting some more. Especially, I think the nurse that you mentioned, there's a video. She actually did a video, if I'm not mistaken, right, John?
Yeah, she did. She did several videos. Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to have one there of her, but there'll be a wealth of information because a lot of people have asked me. And generally, as online marketers, which is what I do, you usually think that you're going to bring things to people like tools with online marketing or certain things that fit that niche. But there's just so much. This product allows for a business opportunity as well. So not only can you use this product, but if you want to develop a business by passing it on or talking about it to others, and they actually get this product, you can get residuals from that. And of course, you can build a business. And there are some people that are building great businesses with the LifeWave patches. Keep in mind, there's no competition with this product. Nobody can compete with this. So this is an opportunity as well, which is why this is not the only reason, but this is another good reason why we bring it to the audience, because one of the things we do, we find products that are profitable, that are good niches that companies can build off of. And this is one of those products. And this is a product that really gives you an inner feeling of joy because you're helping people, not in a monetary way, but possibly in a physical way, where they can have a better quality of life. So, I mean, this is why we do what we do. And John, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know your time is very valuable. You're an inventor and you do all these things, but I want to thank you for just being on this show and sharing your insights and information with our audience.
You're very welcome, Stephen.
Yes. So what we'd like to do, we want to thank everyone for being with us on our podcast show. We have many shows that are upcoming. We have some exciting information that's coming. So we want to welcome you back. But today we want to thank you for being here. And we hope that you've enjoyed this show. And at this time, we want to say, see you later.